We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is the educator for Flora Wellness Supplements, Alberto Trujillo. Alberto is the national educator for Flora, and he's one of my series regulars. Alberto, welcome back to Here's to Your Health.
Hey, Josh. Nice to be with you here again in sunny LA.
Yes, it's nice to be in LA. And now Flora is a German company, been around since the early part of the 20th century. I think their first product was the Floradex liquid iron, which I was told that Thomas Greither's grandfather thought up and manufactured. Was it 1917? Am I correct in that?
1916,
1916.
yes. So Flora is a third-generation family business. It originated in Germany as Salus House. Salus, yes. Salus in Latin means health. So you always hear people saying salute. Basically,
you're right. I did not know
they are toasting to health.
Mhm.
And the literal name of the company is Salus House, which is House of Health. And his grandfather, Otto Greither, Dr. Otto Greither, started that company in 1916 in Germany. They have been a trusted brand in North America since 1965. That's when Flora was established here in North America. And Thomas eventually took over the business, and so he owns Flora now. His father, who is the son of the founder, also named Otto Greither, he runs the company in Germany today. He's about 88 years old.
Good for him.
Yeah.
It's nice to keep working. It's a very nice thing.
Yeah.
And so they specialize, let me use this, they actually do, many of the products are herbal products, not all of them, many are herbal products, with a long tradition.
Long tradition. You said the Floradex iron, which we don't have a picture of here, and that's the #1 selling iron in the world. And that and this product here were the first products.
The liquid multivitamin for children.
The Kinder Love and the Floradex iron were the two original products, and then they expanded the line from there. They have the CalMag over there, and this is the adult multivitamin. This is a new product called Intest Care. There's also the bitters, which I believe we talked about last time, Galixir, great for digestion. And there is a calcium by itself, there's a magnesium by itself. But it all started with the Floradex iron, you're right, and this guy right here, the Kinder Love for children.
And these liquid multivitamins, do you think that these have an advantage over capsules or tablets? Is it just another delivery system? And what's thinking about them technologically?
Well, I think that a liquid delivery does have a big advantage over a solid, because if you look at the PDR, which is the Physician's Desktop Reference Book, the average dissolution, that how much an actual supplement can dissolve in the human's intestinal tract, it's only about 30 to 20%. That's an average.
Oh.
Of course, there are products that have dissolution compounds in them. They're ingredients that help them fall apart, and so that would be a better thing. But the average is about 20 to 30%. So if you have a liquid solution, you're going to have a big advantage, because let's just say you have 1,000 milligram product of nutrients and you have it in a solid form, and say you're one of the people that only dissolves 30%. Well, now you only have 300 out of 1,000 to work with for absorption, because you can only absorb what you dissolve. So if you have a solution where you have 98% of it already liquefied, it doesn't really have to stay in your stomach. It mixes with the acids in the stomach, and then the acids break up the minerals, and then that goes right into the intestinal tract, spreads out, maximize the absorption sites of the intestinal tract, and then you increase the absorption. Whereas if you have a solid and it moves into your intestinal tract, this is your whole surface area of the intestines. Now that solid is just sitting there in one spot, and so you can maximize absorption sites if that doesn't dissolve very well. Okay, so it's limited. And so I think that in terms of absorbing the nutrients, you're going to have a big advantage by having a liquid solution. Now, there are some liquids, because today liquids are becoming more popular. They're easy for digestive systems. People don't take their supplements because they don't want to get an upset stomach. They don't want to get nauseous. They don't want to be burping their supplements,
Right.
And that's one of the main reasons why there's not a high compliance with supplement, consumption. People buy their supplements, they take them home, they leave them in their cupboard. In the morning, they think I should take my vitamin, but they don't. Why? Because they don't want to have an upset stomach.
Right.
First thing in the day.
Right.
They don't want to make their stomach nauseous, so they don't take it.
Right.
And so I think liquids are becoming more popular because these products won't make you nauseous. You can take them on an empty stomach. You haven't had breakfast,
can? All right.
and they won't make you nauseous. They won't have you burping the supplement, midway through your day and so on. No constipation and those kinds of things. So I think that there are a lot of liquids out there that you are seeing today, but there are some liquids that are called suspensions. Now, as the name implies, basically what that means is that the nutrient is suspended in the liquid. It's not actually dissolved in the liquid like a solution. So it's kind of like, if you think about, like, if we were to crush a tablet and we put it in this water, it would drop to the bottom, right? I could drink the water. I wouldn't get any of the supplement until I swished it really well and made sure I drank it.
Right.
Okay. And so you swish it, the solid and the nutrient is suspended, and then it drops. So those are the kind of products that you find on the shelf, and there's the water and then the products on the bottom. So it says suspension. And so usually the solubility of that, because it's not actually dissolved into the liquid, it's comparable to crushing a tablet and put it in water, so about 30% also. So not all liquids are created equal also. So suspensions are not quite as good as a solution where the nutrients actually been dissolved.
Because Salus House, called Florida Extra United States, has a history of working with liquids, and a great history. Mm-hmm. This is a new one in test care?
Yes, this is the newest product. They introduced it in March, and basically it's a product that supports digestive health, but it's unique in the sense that they combined different kinds of herbs that will support digestion. There's artichoke, which is known to be great for supporting indigestion. It's great for liver. Mm-hmm. It's a bitter. It can help bioflow, digestion of fats and these kinds of things. There's peppermint in here. There's rosemary. There's ginger. Can't say enough about ginger in terms of digestion. But there's also turmeric. And turmeric is probably known as the best herbal product you can take to help support resolution of inflammation in the body. So turmeric and ginger and rosemary all have a benefit to support the resolution of inflammation. And so the whole idea is that by putting those herbs in here, along with the traditional digestive herbs, that you should help reduce the inflammation of the intestinal lining.
All right.
And that's an important aspect of intestinal health, because if you have irritation, and a lot of things can irritate the lining of our digestive tract. It could be something you're allergic to, some food that you've taken and caused allergy. It could be dairy. It could be different things. It could be just toxins from microorganisms or putrefaction. There are bacteria that putrefy food stuff, and they cause caustic chemicals that can irritate the lining of the intestinal tract. And so all this can cause inflammation. And if you have long sustained inflammation, persistent inflammation, you can get digestive issues. Obviously, inflammatory colitis and IBS and these kinds of things. And so the idea is to support the body's ability to suppress that, and hopefully you don't have sustained inflammation in the intestinal lining, so you can reduce the probability of developing more serious digestive disorders, right?
And now I notice that even the mainstream physicians recognize the importance of digestion. I see a discussion and an emphasis on the power and the importance of digestion in the stomach that I don't remember seeing in the literature 20 years ago. Now people recognize, no, we need to support digestion, and there are a number of ways to do that. Probiotics, of course, digestive enzymes, the herbal products with artichoke, etc. But I see a major influence now, because as our group, the wellness guys, it used to be called Nature Cure practitioners, which is a term I still very much enjoy. We've always worked on systems. We said, listen, you have this health problem, and that's the symptom, and we're going to work. What's the origin of the problem? We're going to work on the origin of the problem, or the origins, if there's more than one, and we're going to work on these systems in the body, and you're going to heal yourself. We're not suppressing symptoms. We're helping you heal, correct the problem. Why did this occur? Which I think makes perfect sense. And if for most things, it's kind of the answer. If you break your arm, of course, you need to have that arm healed, set. But if you're diabetic, if you have gastrointestinal problems, rather than take, Tums or Pepto-Bismol, maybe we need to exactly what's the cause, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's very fair, and to me it makes perfect sense. And now I think America and the rest of the world is really falling in line and thinking, okay, yeah, we see that does make sense.
Well, what's really interesting is that the founder, Dr. Otto Greither, and we're going back to the beginning of the century, right? Early 1600s, or 1916 actually.
1916. Yeah.
So even back as far as then, his philosophy, and he was famous for saying that death lies in digestion.
Right.
So he understood that if you had a toxic digestive tract, you would have illness and disease and eventually die. And if you had a purified and healthy digestive system, you would have health.
Right.
So he actually understood the importance of the digestive tract with relationship to general health.
Right.
A long, long time ago. And so the first products he ever had before the tonics were there were herbal tonics. He had a cleanse, actually, that included some oils and included peat moss and some herbs and and even one of those belts that shook your digestive system.
Oh, those are popular in the 20s and 30s.
Right.
I used to see those at Vic Tanny's. That's before your time. When they used to have, before there were very many health clubs, Vic Tanny had a national chain of health clubs, and men of my father's generation would go there, and women, and they had these machines you sat on, and they put this white belt around you about this thick, and it would shake you. And I was like 10, 11. I thought to myself, what is this? But they were all using it. Now, of course, it seems like a joke, because it really was a joke.
Yeah. Well, they were using these, but basically the whole idea was that the herbs and the oils would help, and the earth also, that the peat moss would help absorb toxins out of the intestinal tract, and you could have a detoxification sort of system, and it was called the Greither system. So the emphasis was on digestion, and actually this is why in these products you always find one or two herbs that are going to support digestion. And for example, in the adults multivitamin, there is thistle,
milk thistle.
Right, so that helps actually the intestinal tract, digestive system, liver, which is the metabolic organ, and so on. So there's always going to be something to support digestion in these products. If you look at the Kinder Love, usually you'll find peppermint, okay, to support digestion, and chamomile in here as well. So there's always going to be an element to support the digestive system, because of his belief that the digestive system has a large impact on overall health.
That makes perfect sense.
And then you, of course, have all of the supportive vegetables. There's carrot, there's spinach. In this particular one for children, there's watercress, which in my opinion is the best green you can have. I know people vote for broccoli, but broccoli has a component, I think we talked about this before, called indoles,
right,
which are very powerful phytonutrients that in some studies have shown to actually protect us against carcinogenic process. And those same indoles you find in broccoli, you find in watercress. In my opinion, watercress is the best green you can have. But you have a combination of different vegetables and herbs. In the multivitamin for adults, you have the cholla. And cholla seed, this is interesting, is a nourishing and almost adaptogenic type herb that helps the body nourish the strength of the body back from injury or illness. And this formula here was actually created from a request in Germany. There was a cancer clinic, and they asked Salus if they could develop a product that would help deliver nutrients to these sick patients, because they needed to figure out a way to deliver nutrients other than IV. So there's a point where they want to transition the patients off the IV and into some kind of nutrients.
Right.
But their digestive systems are very distraught, and
Right.
they have ulcers and these kinds of things. So whatever it is, they don't want to eat. So it has to be really easy on the digestive system. And so this is what they created. It's a simple multivitamin. It has all of the vitamins that the body needs to renew cells and growth and support the immune system. And they put in the cola in there because it helps nourish and strengthen the body and bring it back from illness and injury. There's also the kelp, there's the wheat germ, there's the echinacea to support the immune system as well, because it's meant to help in that healing process.
So rather than just straight nutrients, which we need, this is a product from Flora that helps us absorb the nutrients more successfully.
Absorb the nutrients more successfully.
makes super
Also,
sense.
in general, tonify and strengthen the vitality of the body.
Now these are liquids, so they require refrigeration after you open them.
Yes, none of these products have any preservatives, no artificial ingredients.
Right.
And so you will have to refrigerate the products after you open them so that they stay fresh. Because they don't believe in using any kind of artificial ingredients. Everything's biodynamic grown. It's a very unique company. They actually have their own organic and biodynamic farm.
That's impressive, actually.
I don't know if people know what biodynamics are,
Tell us.
but you understand
Tell
that
us.
Rudolf Steiner created this agriculture system back in the 1920s.
Right.
And basically, it's a holistic system between the earth, the plants, and animals. And so it really it's very important to compost and nourish the soil so that the soil can nourish the plants. And then, of course, the animals create the manure. At their farm, they have an earthworm farm. And so the cows and the horses create the manure. The earthworm farm, of course, create the composting, and that's fed to the plants, and then the plants are used to make the products. It's a holistic system.
I think he was the Steiner method. I think was kind of a forerunner of what we call organic agriculture. They didn't have a term for it then. They called it Rudolf Steiner method, or biodynamic, which is a term I still like. The Europeans still use it, and less in the United States, but still it's a valid term.
Yes, and they also use an astrological calendar to do the seeding
really?
and the harvesting. Yeah, they do. They actually have a machine at Salus House that can chemically analyze an herb and tell you if it was picked at the right time of the season
Oh my goodness.
based on the biochemistry compounds
Wow.
in that herb. Yeah, so
Well, that's impressive.
they're very, very, very tactical in the way they do things. But about over 60% of the ingredients that go into all of these tonics come from their own biodynamic and organic farm.
Wow.
So
Is that in Chile?
that's in Chile.
Chile, yeah.
Yes, which was moved from Germany after Chernobyl.
Oh, I see.
So
So
they-
they made a switch.
Yes, they weren't sure exactly what. Nobody knew what was going to happen with the fallout, and so at that point they started to look for land in other continents, and eventually they found this pristine land in Chile, which they have the same kind of mountains there, the Andes, as we do in the Alps in Germany. So they found this land that they could grow the same medicinal plants. The conditions were very much like they were in Germany, and they can grow the same medicinal plants there that they were in Germany.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
For those of you tuning in today to Here's to Your Health, we're speaking with Alberto Trujillo. He's the educator for Flora, who is in Germany known as Salus House, and Flora here in the United States is one of the premier supplement companies in the United States, herbal-based, and have a great long-term track record. Now, if I was to use the multivitamin for adults, Express, how do I pronounce this?
Eprosat.
Eprosat. Oh, I'm glad I asked. I've been pronouncing it incorrectly all these years. Eprosat. How much should I, as an adult male, use?
1 to 2 tablespoons depends on your diet,
Okay,
right?
1 to 2 tablespoons.
Yeah, you don't need huge amounts. I mean, I know that people are used to taking large amounts of supplements, and a lot of times you may have to because the form doesn't dissolve very well. You
Right.
don't get a lot of what you're taking, so you must start with a large base to get a
Right.
little bit. But in this case, you don't need to take large amounts. You have the whole food matrix, you have whole vegetables and herbs in here, plus the nutrients. So basically, the recommendation is 2 teaspoons a day. That should be
Teaspoons.
enough.
Now, one thing I do notice about you is you really have a very strong food orientation as
Yes.
a teacher of wellness. Food orientation, and so you see these supplements as concentrated food.
That's exactly right because the idea is that you want to take the supplements in a food matrix because there's a lot that goes into utilization of nutrients in the body, and we simplify it, oversimplify it so people can understand it. But when you take an isolated nutrient, like just say you're just going to take vitamin A or you're just going to take calcium, well, that calcium needs a lot of other micronutrients for the body to absorb it properly. It needs vitamin D. There's other trace minerals and nutrients that are involved in that whole process. Calcium, it needs a lot of different nutrients, and so does iron, and so does magnesium and the vitamins. So when you have a whole food matrix, you have like spinach and carrots.
Right.
You're going to have vitamins, minerals, trace minerals,
Right.
antioxidants,
Right.
all of which are going to come together and help the body utilize that nutrient that you're taking. And so everything's going to work far more efficiently in that complex as if it were just an isolated nutrient. So the body isn't set up to absorb isolated nutrients in high concentrations. And so it actually will regulate the absorption of these nutrients when they're isolated because it could become dangerous for the body to absorb too much of them. And calcium magnesium is a perfect example of that.
Really?
So, for example, we know that calcium absorbs through two different mechanisms in the body.
Okay.
Something that's called active transport and then passive diffusion.
Active transport and passive. I do not know those terms.
Yes. So at the beginning of the intestinal tract, the small intestine, the duodenum, the calcium will absorb through this active transport. Beyond that, it will just be passive diffusion. So if people remember back from high school, diffusion is basically something passively goes across a membrane depending on concentration, right? So it can go or not. And active transport means that there is something actively grabbing the calcium. In this case, it's called there's an enzyme, and it's not transportin because that actually works with iron. But there's an enzyme that actually grabs the calcium and it carries it across the cell in the intestinal lining, and it's called calbindin. Okay, and so that takes energy. That's why it's called active. But that's an efficient way. This is the body taking energy, and it will carry the calcium into your blood. And the other way is just diffusion. So the way that we mostly absorb the calcium is going to be through active transport, and when we consume foods with calcium in them. Well, what determines whether we use active transport or passive diffusion is actually the amount of calcium. So active transport only works when the amount of calcium that we consume is low. When the amount of calcium we consume is moderate to high, the body shuts down active transport
Oh, really?
as a protective mechanism.
No.
So you don't get too much calcium into the bloodstream because it would be dangerous for us. You would even go into a coma if we couldn't regulate the calcium
interesting.
in our blood.
I did not know that.
Yeah, if you can regulate the calcium, our calcium regulation in our blood is very highly regulated by our thyroid and parathyroid and hormones, and we can't have high calcium in our blood, the levels of them. So it's very closely regulated. It can only change, less than 1%, and then things happen. Either the body will take hormones and will take the calcium out of the blood into the bone, which is a good thing, or it would actually take the calcium from the bone and put it into the blood if for some reason the calcium levels in the blood drop. So even though minerals and nutrients are vital for our survival and health, the actual mineral itself, nutrient, becomes a limiting factor in the actual absorption of the mineral.
This is very interesting.
Yeah. So our body isn't set up to take these huge amounts of these nutrients isolated. The body actually is very, very, very smart, and it will control that absorption of that nutrient in order to protect itself so that you don't absorb too much of it.
All right.
So this whole notion that you got to take 1,500 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams, it's silly because your body isn't going to absorb it. It's all, that's why people end up getting upset stomach and bloated and gassy and whatever, the intestinal distress, because the body just all that is sitting in the intestinal tract and it needs to get excreted now. And so because you're not going to absorb it, the minerals are vital for health, but they're also toxic in excess. And the body is really smart and it will control the absorption of them. So if you really want to absorb a lot of calcium, you want to take small amounts in multiple doses. Because when you think about, well, people are trying to get 1,000 milligrams of calcium in a day, the RDA is the amount that is recommended daily. It's not an instant dose. It doesn't say daily instant dose, does it?
Good point.
It says daily recommended amounts. You have 24 hours in which you should consume this amount of this nutrient in your food, and if not, you can supplement the deficiency.
Right.
It's not an instant dose. The body's not designed to absorb nutrients that way. So when you take small amounts of nutrients in a food matrix, you are going to absorb far more than if you take high amounts of isolated nutrients,
Okay.
because you're working with the body system.
Good, intelligent health talk. Thank you, Alberto Trujillo. And that's what I like about Flora, too. I don't think that every company around has this kind of health history and this orientation. And I think one reason why your products sell very well in the United States and throughout the world is because they work. They have good science behind them, and they work.
Well, their philosophy has always been that the concept for wellness or healthy living has always had at its heart the notion that the protection of nature and the well-being of humans go hand in hand.
Yeah. Right.
So, that's the philosophy by which the products are developed, and they always have. So there's a lot more to it than just coming up with a supplement and putting a label on it.
Now, actually, last time you were here, we talked about your Swedish bitters, which is just a great product, and that also has a long track record. You mentioned it's called Swedish bitters because it's named after the 17th century Swedish physician who validated that this herbal formulation from about 1,000 years ago was intelligent and good science of the time and today. And that was great to know that you're selling a formulation and we're taking a formulation that is literally has 1,000 years of use.
It dates back to the Greeks. So
That's very, very. I kind of like that a lot, really.
yeah, in that the formula, even though it is called Swedish bitters, really dates back to the Greeks, and the Swedish physician, basically confirmed the healing properties of the formula, and from that point on, they started calling them Swedish bitters. But yeah, we are taking really a formulation that dates back to the wise ones.
My question for you. Oh, we're gonna run out of time.
Okay.
But before we run out of time, if I was to take the Swedish bitters, for example, do I take that before the meal starts, or when do I take it?
You can take it before the meal, and then it's considered an aperitif, something that starts digestive system, which is what I would recommend for people.
Okay.
You can also take it after, and it's just called a digestif. And after a heavy meal, you can take it. It'll help digest the food and reduce the bloating and the gassy and that kind of stuff.
Well, Alberto Trujillo, it's been a great session as always. Thank you very much for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health.
Thank you, Josh.
You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. We're running out of time, but we'll be right back after these important messages.
This is Shaquem Williams, and I'm with the Shock Factor here on LA Talk Live. We would like to introduce to our small businesses our new business directory for the month of June 2014. So let me explain how it works. We will set you up with 100 commercials, 3 times a day, every day, and 4 times a day on the weekends at peak hour for 1 whole month. And that's not all. We'll even provide you with your own professional audio commercial. For more information about joining our new business directory here at LA Talk Live, please contact Shakim at latalklive.com. That's SHAKIM at latalklive.com. Hubert's Lemonade, tasty, refreshing, sweet and tart. Happiness in a bottle. Visit Hubert's Lemonade at hubertslemonade.com. Once again, that's hubertslemonade.com. Happiness in a bottle. Xavier Tees and Tots, groundbreaking fashion, forward street smart designs. Tees and Tots for men, women, and boys. Visit XavierUSA.com. Once again, that's XavierUSA.com.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is the author Swarna Maldonado, who's a PhD, and the book is called Legumes, the Superfoods That Should Be Regulars on Your Plate. Dr. Maldonado, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Very good.
I'm here, Josh.
Thank you. And did I pronounce your first name correctly?
It is Swarna.
Swarna.
I believe you did.
Okay, very good. I was at least close. And could you please tell my listening audience where you received your undergraduate and graduate degrees?
Sure. I received my undergraduate baccalaureate degree in nursing from Indian University in Hyderabad, and I received my master's in public health from the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and my doctorate from the University of Illinois in Chicago.
So your science background is excellent, and this book on legumes, now, why don't you tell my listening audience, what are legumes?
The legumes are potted plants, and I'm referring to that in my book specifically to dry beans, peas, and lentils.
Uh-huh. And you feel this is a valuable food for us to consume, is that it?
Correct. Yes, for a variety of reasons, primarily for the nutritional and health benefits, and that I believe it has been being underconsumed in the West, in the U.S. included.
Now, in the United States, whenever there's any kind of conversation about the use of lentils or, peanuts or the things we use, Americans are concerned by getting adequate amounts of protein. So let us say that I have lentils and brown rice for dinner with a salad. Do I get adequate amounts of protein this way?
For the day, if you ate 1 cup of lentils, cooked lentils, you would have gotten close to 40% of your protein, between 30 and 40% of your protein combined with the brown rice. Yes, but assuming that you had that in one meal and you have complemented that with other foods in other meals, yes.
All righty. So, let us do a daily menu. What do you suggest is, in your opinion, a good tasting and a healthy breakfast for the Americans? What should we eat?
Well, as far as legumes, at least I covered 19 commonly consumed legumes in my book. Of course, and that's a sufficient variety for people to choose from. And you don't have to eat a legume in every meal, but the USDA, United States Agricultural Department, recommends eating 3 cups per week. That translates into if you eat a cup each time, you can eat it 3 times a week. If not, if you want to eat a smaller amount, like half a cup cooked legumes, then on most days that would be sufficient.
Alrighty, but it does seem to me that if I was to eat half a cup of cooked legumes, that's a lot of legumes, isn't it, at a meal?
No.
No?
No, it is not. Half a cooked legumes means like if that's less than 1/4 raw legumes. They almost double in the process of soaking and cooking. So it is not. It's not a humongous amount. No.
And you, of course, now let's say some of my listeners today on Here's to Your Health are unfamiliar with the use of legumes. They don't really do much with them. So you suggest that I soak them overnight and cook them. I mean, soaking is better, right?
Yes, you don't have to soak them overnight. First of all, there are some legumes that don't need soaking at all, such as mung beans and split lentils. You don't, not split lentils, split peas, and lentils don't need soaking at all. But most others that do need soaking, you don't have to soak them overnight. There is a quick soak method called like bringing them to a quick boil before you soak them, after you clean them, and then soaking them and changing the water a few times. Not only cuts down on the soaking and cooking time, but also it helps with that a problem of flatulence. It reduces flatulence.
All right. Yeah. So what does cause flatulence? Is it the skins of the beans that we can't digest, that they're indigestible? Is that the problem that we have with beans? Because really, you don't want to make jokes about it, but really, we all know if you eat too many beans, well, you made a mistake there.
Well, there is no such thing as too many beans. But like we said, if you soak them and cook them the way that the quick soak method, it reduces. And there are the other ways of countering flatulence. I know people think they're best because of the problem. They're best avoided. That's not correct. Mm-hmm. You can reduce in a number of ways. People have been eating legumes for centuries, and they have found ways. You can besides the quick soak method, you can also use ginger and fennel, for example. They're considered anti-flatulent agents. And also even just before you eat, we have enzyme-based, such as Beano, for example. Just if you took a Beano just before you eat legumes, that will also cut down. So there are different methods of countering flatulence.
All righty. So
that should not be the reason for avoiding the legumes.
Let's just talk about everyone's favorite snack food, peanuts. So peanuts really are not nuts; they're legumes. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, they are a legume family. Although we think of as nuts, they're actually legumes.
And today there is a great deal of discussion in the mainstream media about the problems with digestive problems that we have, problems with gluten intolerance, problems with intolerance to various foods. Do people, in your opinion, have problems with peanuts as well?
Well, peanut it hasn't always been, but over time we have developed allergy to peanuts. Peanut allergy is very serious and prevalent. So that is one. But not everyone becomes intolerant or allergic to peanuts or like any other food. Some people develop allergies, others don't. So this is it for. That's why if it's peanut allergy has been diagnosed and known, and people need to take precautions not only to avoid peanuts, but any foods that are prepared in the same process as peanut, along with peanuts. So you have to be careful in reading label and make sure that even traces of peanuts are not present.
Dr. Maldonado, because you are a PhD, because you have studied legumes, what is it? Why do some of us have problems with peanuts? Is it because the peanuts are heavily sprayed? Is it actually a problem with peanuts, or is it a problem with the way that the peanuts are grown and harvested and stored? Can you kind of narrow it down for us?
Yes, many foods that have protein. Protein is generally the allergen that most some people who develop food allergies are allergic to. So it's not just the peanuts, but peanut allergies. Because peanuts are eaten so much, the allergy to that food has become widely known. But there are many foods that people can become allergic. Shellfish, for example, egg whites, and lactose in milk, dairy products. So there are many, food allergies. So nobody knows exactly why some people develop allergies. It's a body's immune response, and so we have to learn to this. It has to be recognized early so that it can be prevented. So it's just not confined to peanuts only, and it's sometimes it can be additives that to add it to the foods, or sometimes the foods themselves.
Are you currently teaching on a university level here in the United States?
Yeah, not currently, but I have until recently, until 2010 I have.
So my question for you then is, let's go back.
My most recent full-time teaching job as a tenured professor was at San Francisco State University.
All righty. So as a tenured professor, do you feel that the way that vegetables and nuts and seeds and beans and peas are grown in the United States with the heavy reliance on pesticides is another potential problem for digestion and assimilation of nutrients for us?
No, Josh. I really don't think that U.S. in particular uses pesticides and chemical fertilizers to an extent that it is harmful. I mean, otherwise, USDA exercises a fair amount of regulation, and so that by the time the foods are brought to the market, that the traces of pesticides and fertilizers are not considered harmful. Otherwise, they would not be. However, if we are concerned about it, that's why we now have so-called organically grown foods that limits these, that does not use chemical pesticides and fertilizers, and only biologically approved pesticides and chemical and approved biological fertilizers. So there is that option. But most foods that are brought to market and grown in this country do not contain harmful levels of pesticides and fertilizers.
All right. We're speaking with Swarna Maldonado, a PhD. Her new book, Legumes, the Superfoods That Should Be Regulars on Your Plate. Dr. Maldonado, thank you for calling in. We've run out of time. This new book is published by Basic Health, a very good...
Thank you for having me on your program.
It was my pleasure. A very good company, Basic Health. We have them on regularly. This is Josh Lane for Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. We'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
It started out like a totally normal day. I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. Our first segment, we had Alberto Trujillo with Flora, a third-generation herbal company from Europe. And in keeping with that theme today of families and generations involved with wellness, we have Hallie Rich, whose dad had supplement houses. Hallie's been here before. Hallie, welcome back to Here's to Your Health.
Thanks so much for having me again.
What supplement house did your father have?
We had a manufacturing arm where we produced for many well-known companies throughout, and then we also were Great Earth Vitamins here in LA.
Oh my goodness, Great Earth Vitamins. Well, that was an important powerhouse at one time in the 80s and 90s, weren't they?
Yes, it was huge. It was a wonderful company.
Fantastic. So you got into it because you kind of learned from your mom and dad, just kind of was kind of osmosis?
Yeah, exactly. We always like to say that vitamins were definitely in my genes.
Definitely in your genes, yeah,
Definitely
for sure.
in my genes. My grandparents and my father all worked together.
Your grandparents? Oh my goodness, that's great.
Yes, my father and my grandfather were pharmacists by trade, took what they knew from the science and the pharmaceutical industry, brought it to the vitamin industry, and began their company. I worked with my grandmother and my father for almost about 10 years, and then after the untimely passing of my father, unfortunately, went out on my own and started my own company.
Wow. And you decided that children's vitamins are important, especially in a powdered form?
Well, really the impetus for my company was that I can't swallow pills. And I was kind of like the shoemaker's daughter who had no shoes. I was the pill maker's daughter who couldn't take pills. And so after the passing of my father, closing of the company, kind of, being a little bit lethargic, depressed, and I really felt like I needed nutritional support to get me, back up to par.
Sure.
I went into a vitamin store looking for alternatives to the current pills, and I really didn't find anything that suited me. There were things that tasted great, but things that were laden with sugar. There were things that were wonderful formulas, but not so convenient or portable. So I really had that light bulb moment saying, hey, wait, there's an opportunity here as being the consumer and also being an industry expert. And then we launched the adult formula at first, but we had such an influx of emails from not only parents, but pediatric dentists, from doctors, from nutritionists saying you're really missing the kid market here. There's really a niche market for people who are looking for alternatives to what's currently on the market. And we launched the kids product, and it's been doing really well ever since it's launched.
It's been around now, has it been a year and a half or so?
Yeah, about that.
And so this is called Alternavites. This is these are what little? It's a little powder.
Correct. It's a powder. It's almost like if you got pixie stick when you were younger, or Lickimade.
Yes,
so you can pour the powder directly on your tongue where it melts in your mouth. Or you can also mix it into yogurt, smoothies, shakes, puddings. We have people who make it an ice cream topping, people who who put their grapes or their apples and they, put it in there. The real reason for doing this was because I wanted to eliminate any excuses as to why people don't take vitamins.
Right.
So if you don't want to take it by pouring it on your mouth, you can mix it into something you're already taking so you don't have to add anything else into your daily routine. We really want to make vitamins fit into your lifestyle and not the other way around.
So on these Kids Vites, I put these in what? 4 ounces of water?
You can put it in water, you can put it in your daily yogurt, your daily smoothie, or you can just put it directly on your tongue, no water necessary.
And I take, so one pack for the children per day, kids are good?
Correct, yep, 1 packet per day, and it comes in these convenient stick packs. So you can put it into a lunchbox, you can bring it with you in a carpool and give it to them before or after school. It's really become a really easy, accessible way for parents to eliminate the hassle of taking vitamins because we've added convenience back into something that's also potent and healthy.
And if the children, let's say a mom or dad decides to give this to their 6 or 7 or 8 year old,
sure,
would they see any kind of improvement in children pretty shortly? Would the kids say, Mom, I feel peppy? Or would they kind of notice anything?
You know, I
It's a
think
broad question.
It's a broad question. I think, you know, people keep buying our vitamins because they've found results that work for them and their families. I think what's wonderful about it is that, you know, there's so many kids today who aren't eating a well-balanced diet, not because their parents don't have the best of intentions, but kids are kids. You know, even the recent study that came out about the Los Angeles school lunches and how, you know, aren't kids choosing healthier options for their lunches. So I think there's nothing better than an insurance policy to make sure that kids are filling in the nutritional gaps. And with that, I think that can definitely help support overall health and well-being.
You're saying that in LA, the children are trading apples for like ring dings or something? Is that
I don't know that that's
LA?
strictly an LA thing, but there was that study that came out, you know, both in LA and then with Michelle Obama about the validity of changing traditional healthy school lunches for traditional lunches for healthy school lunches and the ramifications of that. And I think while it's a wonderful move, I think that more proactive steps need to be done in addition to a healthy lunch. I think a multivitamin, exercise, getting enough sleep, being proactive with your doctor's appointments, I think it's all part of a well-rounded program to make sure your kid learns the healthy habits they need today that can take them into, you know, hopefully a healthy adulthood.
And by the way, fighting about school lunch programs is not a new phenomena. I remember when Reagan was president, they said that ketchup counted as a vegetable for school lunches. And there was a big brouhaha about it because a lot of the processed food manufacturers make a lot of money supplying that processed food for the children. And they don't really want those children particularly eating apples because there's no money in selling them apples.
Right.
So really we're not fighting about science, we're fighting about money.
Absolutely.
And people like to go after Michelle Obama because she represents progressive thought on wellness. And again, there's no money if the kids eat a baked potato or apples. There's money in that processed food and they're going to pitch it. You know, and they have a lot of clout. So sometimes we're not really fighting about science at all. We're fighting about political influence.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I think, you know, there's room for everybody at the table. I think kids should be eating healthy. I think kids should be going to doctors. I think kids should be exercising. But I also think kids should be taking a daily multivitamin to help them, again, fill in those gaps and give them that insurance policy, that life preserver.
Right.
I don't know why there's always such animosity between the industries. To me, they should all work hand in hand because there's a proper place for everybody. I think it comes to, unfortunately, there being a lot of money in sickness. And I think that that's, you know, unfortunately where, you know, things can go askew. But hopefully the more educated your listeners and people across the country become about being proactive with their health, I think hopefully people will find the money in being healthy and being saying, you know what, I'm going to really feel well this morning as opposed to I feel sick this morning and finding the money there.
Well, actually, Ms. Rich, I agree with you that we need everything. But unfortunately, prevention is so inexpensive and so terribly conservative. Because you don't have to intervene with the patient at all, you know, and the patient really can't be passive. The patient has to eat carefully, exercise, wants a cleaner environment. Those are all good for us as consumers, but they're not real money makers for professions. And so there's always been fighting about prevention, although these days I see that the prevention crowd is gaining much more market share. Many Americans realize, oh, no. Exercise is not just fun, it's important for my health. Eating carefully is not just an indulgence, or eating organic or whatever. No. It's just basic and taking good supplements, and then you feel better. When people take supplements, they're shocked when they take good supplements. They feel better. They think, oh my God, I feel better. They're surprised. And like usually under a week, they think, I feel better. I can't believe it. Because they always thought, oh, that's just so silly. Burger King is just as good. I don't eat that. Eat that because they know Burger King. I'm not saying it doesn't taste good, but there are other choices that are probably better choices health-wise.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to say that processed food doesn't taste good. I would never say that. But really, is that the best choice for you? Really?
Right. I mean, I think there's always time for treats. I think everything in moderation. There's always great time for a Whopper. But I think, you know, generally speaking, the healthier you can eat, the more you know, powerful choices you can make when it comes to your health. I mean, everything counteracts. Your body needs the nutrients, you know, whether you get them from food, from supplements, wherever you get them, they need their proper nutrients to function properly.
Right.
And I think, you know, if you're not giving your body the fuel it needs, whether it's not performing well at work, not being, you know, present for your family, having to call in sick at, you know, times, I think, you know, you just need to make the proper choices for your body. Every body is different, but everybody needs the nutrients and the fuel to make them at their optimum, you know, when it comes to their both mental and physical health.
What's in your formulation for children that you're particularly proud of?
I'm really proud of the well-rounded nature of the formula. I think it's a wonderful formula with 17 vitamins and minerals. I think very often a lot of formulas out there will just have vitamins. I'm proud of the fact that we were able to put both. I'm also really proud of the things that we don't have in this formula. We're gluten-free, we're sugar-free, there's no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. We're vegetarian, so there's no animal products or byproducts. We're also certified kosher. So I'm really proud that we were able to keep our integrity both as a company and both me personally in making this product while still being able to supply those 17 vitamins and minerals at optimal doses.
And where can I buy these now? Where can I get the Alternavites?
Well, we're very excited to say that we just are launched in Whole Foods out here on the West Coast. So you can find us in Southern California, in Arizona, in Las Vegas, in Hawaii. We're also in Whole Foods on the East Coast as well. You can find us at Harmon's, and you can also find us online basically anywhere. If you Google Alternavites or Alternavites Kids.
So this is 30 individual packets. So this is a month.
Correct. It's 1 month supply.
In a day. And can adults take this too?
Absolutely. We have people, we say it's from 4 to 104. We have lots of adults who like this. It's a little bit softer on their stomach. It fits easily into their days. Like I said, they can mix it into things they're taking or just throw a packet in their purse, take it on their way to work while they're commuting, while they're watching TV even. They don't need anything else but the packet. So we have people of all ages who love this product, and also because of what it has, of how easy you could take it, and how delicious it really tastes.
I noticed on the vitamin C in the formulation, you use calcium ascorbate. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me what that is vis-a-vis vitamin C?
We chose all the ingredients and all the forms of them because of either how they tasted, the mouthfeel, the vegetarian part of them. We didn't want anything based from animal products, and the massiveness of the nutrient themselves. When you're putting powder on your tongue, this is about 2.5 grams of powder. Some things tend to be more massive, seem to have a more bitter tasting. It's hard to do that. So that's why all of the ingredients were from the form from which they're from, including calcium ascorbate for vitamin C.
So there really, really is a lot of steps to manufacture a product like this.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, well, all you did was stop one step short of putting into a tablet or a pill, and couldn't be further from the truth. While that's probably correct from a technical point of view, from a manufacturing point of view, so much has to be done to make sure that it tastes good, that it dissolves well, that it feels good in your mouth, and that, that there's enough vitamins and minerals in there to actually make a difference.
And on this product, as far as shelf life, is this good for a year?
2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm. The expiration date is 2 years from the date of manufacture, so we're also very proud of that too. Although we've really heard from most of our consumers, once it gets on their shelves and their kids love it, 30 days they're back for more.
I see. Well, I tell you, I wish you good luck with this because it does seem like a very intelligent formulation.
Thank you very much. We worked very hard at it, and like you said, all my years and all my family history in the industry really led me to this moment. So it's been a great thing to come see to life.
Hallie, do me a favor, give us your contact information so we can go on your website and check it out.
Please do. It's Alternavites, ALTER, N as in Nancy, AV as in Victor, ITES.com, Alternavites.com, and we'd love to hear from you. You could always email us too from the website. There's a contact form, and let me hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for having us here.
Well, Hallie, thank you very much. It's been fun. I appreciate you being on. Thank you. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk. Hubert's Lemonade, tasty, refreshing, sweet, and tart. Happiness in a bottle. Visit Hubert's Lemonade at hubertslemonade.com. Once again, that's hubertslemonade.com. Happiness in a bottle. Xavier Tees and Tots, groundbreaking fashion, forward street smart designs. Tees and Tots for men, women, and boys. Visit XavierUSA.com. Once again, that's XavierUSA.com.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. I'm here today with my co-host, Dr. Hans Kugler. Dr. Hans Kugler is a PhD out of Stony Brook in New York State. Stony Brook, one of the top 10 science schools in the country. And Dr. Kugler wrote the first book on anti-aging, published in the United States in 1974. So I want you to know who's on today so you can really kind of pay attention to the conversation. Hans Kugler, welcome back to Here's to Your Health.
Well, it's absolutely fascinating. The amount of material that's being published to document and verify that anti-aging is a reality. Right. It's not just a theory anymore. This is just amazing. And I brought a whole bunch of things along here that we will show, a little discuss about it. And then the centerfold here is telomeres. Those ends at your DNA molecules, right? Telomeres extensions that get shorter with age. And there are many efforts to actually slow down the shortening or actually lengthen it. And along those lines, we have a number of things here to show you, and you probably have a lot of questions. And to get the answers on the questions, you can either go to an ebook, my ebook, it's called Lifelong Health, Learn How to Control Your Genes to Stay Young with Age.
It's called Lifelong Health, that's an ebook.
Yeah, it's an ebook. Right. And if you don't have an iPad or anything or Nook or something like this, you can now go to Barnes & Noble and download for free Nook for your PC. So you download an ebook, and every time you go somewhere on an airplane or whatever, you print out a chapter. I mean, it's absolutely magnificent. Anyway, so that's the book. And the other one is my website, drhanskugler.com, drhanskugler.com, where you find more information about what we will be talking about today.
All righty. And also, this is Anti-Aging Medical News. It's a picture of a very nice picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger here. Now, you're actually colleague with Arnold. You were on TV and radio with him, back in the 80s?
Oh, yes. We were on tour together.
Yeah.
Arnold is a hell of a nice guy. And the reason why I brought this issue along here is this is about the time now to plan maybe for a visit to Las Vegas in the beginning or middle of December, because the American Academy Anti-Aging Medicine will hold their largest meeting ever over there. I mean, they have now over 30,000 members. I mean, several thousand members attend, hundreds of exhibitors. They exhibit floors from every aspect of anti-aging, fitness. It is just amazing, right? And
you one of the founding members of that?
Well, yes, we had several organizations, right? And as a matter of fact, this was the American Academy Anti-Aging Medicine. This is Dr. Ron Klotz.
Ron Klotz is an MD.
Right. And I had the International Academy Anti-Aging Medicine. And we got together at one time, decided, no, we are really going to support and help one organization to make it grow.
What year was this, by the way?
Oh, God, it was a long time ago. 15, 20 years ago. Yeah.
15 to 20 years ago, this subject was really, no one really knew this at all. And even people knew about it, maybe they kind of made jokes. They don't making jokes anymore, are they?
Oh,
people
no.
are paying attention now. Right.
Yes. Anyway, and so
if I can mention this, so you really are, if you're not the first guy, you are one of the first men of science to scientifically talk about life extension.
That's right. Slowing down the aging process was the name of the book. I mean, it's still available, but, with anti-aging books, you always read the latest one, right, because that's the most updated one. But the reason why I brought along this magazine here is if you attend the American Academy Anti-Aging Medicine, and interesting enough, laypersons can attend, and they have a special price for you. Anyway, you will get this entire big issue about anti-aging medical news, which not only brings all the abstracts of all the talks given there, it shows you also which products are being shown on the exhibit floor, what they're doing. It is absolutely fantastic. And last year, and that's why Arnold is on the cover page, he was actually being honored for being a supporter and actually enthusiastic anti-aging.
He is a supporter,
follower.
and he has been very helpful in wellness in general. First of all, as a young man, through his bodybuilding, and then later on, he's doing very good environmental work now, and he is a strong wellness advocate.
That's right. Especially right now, there is a show called Years of Living Dangerously. It's a TV series that's being shown on Showtime, which he made with Harrison Ford and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And please go out and try to catch it. It is absolutely magnificent. And what this show is really demonstrating again and again what I've been saying for a long time, that literally all of the anti-climate change arguments are bogus, totally planted. And I'm not the only one to say that, as a matter of fact.
Give us a specific. Tell us what they're saying and why you say that's just not true. Tell me.
Okay. Because there are so many people out there who are still making zillions on polluting sources of energy that are causing climate change. Right? Okay. And there's number one, CO2. That's everything that burns, carbon.
CO2 is carbon dioxide.
Right? Okay. And then there's the farce of the century. It's called fracking. Right? Because they look for natural gas and they say, oh, it's cheaper and it's cleaner and so on. Well, the bottom line is, and that's not my conclusion, there was several scientists, including Nobel Prize winners, because it involves methane. Methane is a natural gas, and methane is between 72 and 105 times as risky as CO2 in causing climate change. So fracking, in my opinion, is a farce that's being pulled over on the American public. And you will see, if you watch Years of Living Dangerously by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Harrison Ford. By the way, also, I met Harrison Ford. He's a fellow pilot, right? I mean, the son of a gun can fly a jet airplane, you know.
That's good.
And,
so now, I've read just very recently that the state of California is beginning to crack down on fracking.
Right.
Is that so?
Totally, yes. Yeah. Hopefully we do. I mean, people are really recognizing the facts about it. And the key facts are, they're telling us that when they do fracking, if we use fracking fluids, then we increase the yield. Well, that is about the biggest scientific Frankenstein bogus that you could think of. As a matter of fact, when you look at those so-called fracking fluids, you recognize that it's most likely the chemical industry's waste disposal. Hundreds of tons of this garbage is put deep into the earth, into our groundwater, polluting our groundwater, and, otherwise they would have to pay lots of money for disposing this crap.
Dr. Kugler, I want you to mention that again today, because when you first told me that, I had never heard that before. And I thought, oh my God, that was just shocking that they would they would purposefully pollute the groundwater of the United States because they didn't want to pay to have the chemicals properly disposed of. And I'm assuming once they've done that, that water is permanently ruined. And
it doesn't. The chemicals don't decompose. No. Right.
And we know that of everything, you can find about all sorts of health benefits, but everyone knows if you don't have clean water, you're in big trouble.
You know what? In the most recent episodes of Years of Living Dangerously, they really went around the world and showed how severely the climate change causes water shortages. Right? I mean, that goes from the uproar is presently going on in Syria, right, to Bangladesh. And then they say, well, what is this? Bangladesh and Syria, I don't care. Well, you should care, because the same thing is happening over here in Texas and in Kansas. In Texas, the drought is so bad nowadays that Texas farmers are bringing they're sending their breeding cattle most expensive one to Canada to survive, right? And even major newspapers had articles about it, that it will increase steak prices. I mean, quality meats and so on. In Kansas, the tremendous snowfalls literally killed the cattle industry.
In Kansas.
Hundreds of animals buried under humongous amounts of snow. And then somebody will say, oh, well, like, how can it be, climate change, temperature increases when we have all these colds? That's a really ignorant argument. I mean, look how an air conditioner works. Let's say you have a big house, and on one end of the house you put an air conditioner. Right. Well, you put fans in it that circulate the air, and that equilibrates the whole house.
Right.
Well, if that air conditioner breaks down, obviously the cold parts of the house are going to get colder and the hot parts will get hotter, and that is really demonstrated because the two air conditioners that we have on this earth are the North and the South Pole, the ice caps, and they're disappearing.
North and South Pole ice caps.
Right. They're disappearing. They're disappearing to such degree that in some areas on the East Coast already,
East Coast of the United States.
In the U.S., they're asking homeowners to pay home insurance premiums as high as $30,000 to $50,000, or they can raise the foundation of the houses when you're living close to an ocean, because the water is going to be out. For example, in other countries have been shown that this the water melting, the ice melting on the North-South Pole causes an increase in the height of the water, and in some areas close to 20% of the land that's close to the ocean will disappear, will all go underwater. Right?
What, over the next 50, 20, next 100 years or so?
No, it's already happening.
Right.
It's already happening. As a matter of fact, NASA data showed with a big computer simulation. You can see that. Arnold showed that on the Living Dangerously, and they show you which area you could pinpoint it and how far the water will increase and put everything underwater, and gone forever.
All right, so these things are certainly upsetting. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to telomeres. Let's go talk about life extension, because people want to know, okay, Dr. Kugler, this is upsetting, but we've kind of heard the science. We know that these ideas are real. What can I do, what can my listeners do in a very concrete way to improve the quality of their life right now and to theoretically or even practically promote longevity so we can live to be 110 and strong and clear?
The simplest thing is, what we've always been saying is follow good health practices. But it's not only following good health practices, we can redefine the health practice to make it much easier. For example, in exercise, right? What is the strongest factor in preventing cognitive losses? Muscle exercises. What is the strongest factor in slowing down the telomere shortening? Muscle exercises, right?
Exercise.
Right. Muscle exercises.
What does that mean, muscle exercise?
Weightlifting, right? But using machines that use with weights, right? But naturally, there's a part also is cardio. The aerobic part. But if you simplify that and you follow the basic rules, you can get away with a mere 2 exercise sessions per week, and 2 times a week, maybe for an hour, and you will do much better than a lot of these other clowns out there that are telling you, oh, you have to exercise an hour every day, and so on and so on. They know nothing what they're talking about. Right? That's...
If I exercise an hour a day, is that too much? Or is that I don't need to do that?
No, it's not really too much, but it's a waste.
Okay.
We have so many other things to do. And as a matter of fact, on a long-term basis, especially as we get older, like when I go through a strong exercise program, right? And body analysis, everything shows that I'm at my age, I'm classified as high-performing athlete, right? Which is nice to know.
Excuse me, the term high-performing athlete, that's a scientific nomenclature?
Yeah, in a way, right? I mean, the ejection fraction of your heart, what your heart can, the output, right, is called percentages. 50% is a minimum. When I had my extreme car accident years ago, it was down to 28%. That means I was walking 30 yards and I like an invalid.
Yeah, no, so less than a decade ago, you had a small sports car that you were hit by a large truck, and they had to cut you out of the car.
Right.
So it was a very serious, and it could have actually ended your life.
That's right. They told me 4 drugs and a pacemaker and a defibrillator in here, and I said, no way, this is my field. As a former professor of chemistry, teaching pre-meds and so on, and knowing people around the world, we fixed it all up myself. And that you can also get, for example, you can see it on our website, drhanskugler.com.
So you're not just a healthy guy who's always been a healthy guy because you take care of yourself. You were a healthy guy, and then you had a severe car accident that may have killed a man who really hadn't taken such good care of himself, and then you recovered because you put in some new protocols that were really very new. Is that they're still somewhat new?
That's right. And I was lucky enough to know people like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Professor Dr. Paul Ward, Olympic trainer, heavy weightlifting.
Paul Ward is the name you'd like to mention. So Dr. Paul Ward is what does he do?
An Olympic trainer. He he is very heavy weightlifting. At age 64, he made 4 times national masters lifting champion. I mean, big Marine, right? And
at age 64, well, that's good.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic, right?
Paul Ward is still living.
Oh yeah. How
old is he now?
Big guy. I don't know, must be around a little bit over 70 or something like that. He's
kind of a young guy. So
going very strong. Okay, yeah. Anyway, and the other thing, naturally, if you wanted to learn more about, go back to my book, Lifelong Health, Learn How to Control Your Genes to Stay Young with Age. Costs a mere $7 as an ebook. And you can really read up on how to define health practices and make it easier.
Right.
That's the most important part.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to spend my whole life, pumping weights and this and that, just because I feel I want to live longer. When am I going to live longer, right? I mean, I must have time for that too, right? That's the most important part, right? And in our website, drhanskugler.com, right?
Okay, so we've talked about, just in passing, exercise. What about what we eat? Can you please tell my audience some things that we should try to focus on eating? Okay. And then we'll do things that we should not be eating.
Before we go to the nutrition part, another second most important part is the detoxing, right?
Detoxing.
We use, actually, you go to a health food store, you ask for a non-flushing niacin, right?
Non-flushing niacin.
Non-flushing niacin.
What's niacin exactly?
Right. Niacin is a B vitamin. That in its normal form, it make your skin prickle if you take a little bit too much.
Niacin.
There's a non-flushing form. It's niacinamide or niacin hexanicotinate. You can take 1.5 grams, then you do some exercise, then you do sauna and sweat, and all these toxic chemicals that in your body will come out.
Now, you seem to really feel that's a valuable protocol. Not just exercising, which is great, not just a sauna, which is also great, but you think we should build up to 1,500 milligrams of niacin per day, or a non-flushing form of niacin. Why does the non-flushing niacin so dramatically improve the quality of the sauna?
No, actually, this is really possibly twofold. The answers are not really it, but it definitely works.
Okay, so the answer is we're not quite exactly sure why. Is that it?
That's right. But it's very interesting, right? Like, for example, using the non-flushing niacin 1.5 grams, then do some exercise and sweating, and they've actually put a gauze over any part over the body. I mean, on your chest, on your legs, even the forehead, put an aluminum foil in the sweatband, and they measured the sweat that's coming out of your body, and it's directly proportional to the toxic chemicals that are in your body that are affecting your gene therapy, your gene control mechanisms, and brings it back to normal, a little regeneration. Okay, now we go to the nutrition. And a lot of people are saying, well, all this overweight is very simply due to because people don't eat too much and they don't do enough exercise. No, again, totally wrong. Yes, that is a part of it, but the most important part is excess sugar. 3 very conservative people, Harvard, MIT, and some of the other universities were on CBS 60 Minutes, and you can Google it, and they will tell you that in excess of 100 calories for women and 150 calories for men. That's the maximum. Sugar becomes toxic, poisonous, and addictive.
We're talking about white sugar now.
That's right.
Okay, we're not talking about eating an apple.
Oh, no, totally not, right? Because when you eat an apple, you eat a fruit or anything like this, it goes slowly into your blood at the rate at which you're burning it up, right? I mean, very often in the evening, I sit in front of the television, I watch television, and I have a cold apple, right? Okay, but here comes another part that is very important.
Yes,
and
another prop you're going to show me, okay. That looks like a lemon, I think.
That's a lemon.
It's a big lemon. Okay, big lemon. Okay, big lemon.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, wait a minute. Before we get to this one, another part, a very important part of health, is to just avoid junk foods, eat foods as grown, right? And look at the label. And if you see HFCS in there, high fructose corn syrup, you avoid that stuff as if it was the pest, right? And this. Okay, now we go to lemons. Well, guess what they find? A lot of major nutrients are in the skin of a fruit.
Oh, I see.
And this one here, this is an organically grown lemon. So how do we get that skin out there? It's very simple. You put it in a freezer, freeze it until it's rock hard. Then you go to the 99-cent store and you buy a rasp. And you just rasp off the skin. And you put it on your salad or anything like this, right?
Oh, really?
Or you can tell. I do this very much just alone. I take about the whole skin from a lemon, right? Rasp it off. Then I put some fruit oils on there. This is another area that's gaining a lot of attention. Fruit oils. And there's a good company out there that has a lot of research information, and I think it's called Botanic Innovations.
All right.
Like botanic oils, right? Botanic Innovations. And I get myself some black raspberry seed oil, right? I put that on there, and then when you sometimes bring me the vitamin C Visible, right? So I spray that over it. Oh man, it tastes delicious.
Okay, so let me get this. I freeze this lemon. And then I
just stick it in the freezer.
I literally the entire lemon peel. I make it little shreds of it.
Right, or don't do